Right now, there are over 850,000 leftover 2025 models sitting unsold on dealer lots across America. Luxury SUVs are leading the pile up. The Jeep Grand Wagoneer has a 400-day supply of inventory. That means at the current sales pace, it would take dealers over a year just to clear what they have. The Jaguar F-Pace has nearly 300 days. The Maserati Grecale has over 300 days. These are not fringe vehicles from no-name startups. These are supposed to be the crown jewels of billion-dollar automakers, and nobody wants them. Today, I'm breaking down exactly why 2026 is shaping up to be the worst year in history for luxury SUVs, and why dealers are panicking to get these things off their lots before values crater even further. Let's start with the elephant in the room. Affordability has completely collapsed. The average new car in America now costs over $51,000. That's up 30% from 2020, and luxury SUVs, they start at $60,000, $70,000, $80,000, with loaded models easily crossing $100,000. But here is the thing most people do not talk about. It is not just the sticker price that is killing sales. It is the total cost of ownership. Auto insurance premiums have surged over 20% since 2023. States like California, Florida, and Michigan are seeing even steeper increases. A luxury SUV, like a BMW iX or Mercedes EQS SUV, can cost you $3,000 to $5,000 a year just to insure. Now, stack an average car loan rate of around 7%, monthly payments that are pushing past $1,000 for a record number of buyers, and the math stops working for a huge chunk of the population. A study from Plant Moran found that 1/3 of Americans flat out cannot afford a new vehicle at current prices. Even among those who technically can, choices are razor thin if your household income is under $65,000. The share of new car buyers making under $100,000 a year has dropped from 50% in 2020 to just 37% today. Meanwhile, buyers making over $200,000 went from 18% to 29%. The luxury SUV market is now almost entirely dependent on the ultra-wealthy, and even they are getting smarter about throwing money away on vehicles that lose value the second they leave the lot. Now let's talk about what tariffs are doing. In April 2025, a 25% tariff hit all automobiles imported into the United States. A month later, the same 25% tariff slammed auto parts. This is not a small adjustment. Cox Automotive estimates that automakers have racked up more than $25 billion in tariff obligations through the first 7 months of 2025 alone. That averages out to roughly $5,200 per imported vehicle hitting the border, and luxury SUVs are getting hit the hardest. European imports from BMW, Mercedes, Audi, and Land Rover carry some of the biggest per-unit tariff costs. Cox estimates that vehicles imported from the EU are being charged approximately $8,500 per unit. General Motors is bracing for a $4 to $5 billion total tariff impact in 2025. Ford is looking at nearly $3 billion. Those costs do not just vanish. They get baked into higher manufacturer-suggested retail prices, and we are already seeing 2026 models come in about $2,000 higher on average than the typical annual increase. For luxury imports, the hit is even steeper. J.P. Morgan projects that consumers could see a 3% price increase across the board from tariffs alone. On a $90,000 luxury SUV, That is an extra $2,700 before you even negotiate. And here is the cruel irony. While sticker prices are going up, resale values are going down. Hey, before we get deeper into this, if you are finding this useful, hit that like button. It really helps the channel. Let's talk about who's getting absolutely destroyed. Stellantis is in free fall. Cadillac sales dropped 17% in the fourth quarter of 2025. Buick fell 11%, and the Jeep Grand Wagoneer has become one of the slowest-selling vehicles in America, sitting at a staggering 400-day supply by December 2025. When the Grand Wagoneer launched, Stellantis was charging more than $100,000 for a loaded model, trying to go toe-to-toe with the Cadillac Escalade and Lincoln Navigator. But here's the identity problem nobody at Stellantis wanted to face. Who is spending $100,000 on a Jeep when they could buy an Escalade with decades of luxury credibility? Stellantis couldn't sell them at full price, so they started slashing. Dealers offered $15,000 to $20,000 off MSRP on brand new Grand Wagoneers. And when new models sell at massive discounts, used values don't just fall, they collapse. Consumer Reports rated the Grand Cherokee among the least reliable vehicles for 2025. A Michigan couple is actually suing Stellantis over a brand new Grand Cherokee 4xe that completely shut off while they were on the freeway. Their vehicle spent 8 months at dealerships out of a 39-month lease. Stellantis recalled over 91,000 Grand Cherokee 4xe models for sudden power loss. Brand trust is shattered. For 2026, Stellantis is trying to fix the Wagoneer mess by lowering the Grand Wagoneer's starting price to under $65,000 and putting the Jeep badge back on the hood. That's basically admitting the premium sub-brand experiment was a complete failure. They overreached, the market rejected them, and now they're backtracking as fast as they can. Then there is Jaguar. This is one of the most jaw-dropping brand collapses in automotive history. The F-Pace has been sitting at the top of the slowest-selling vehicles list for months. In September 2025, it had a 321-day supply. By October, that climbed to 372 days. Over 2,000 units are just sitting on lots, collecting dust, with barely a few hundred selling per month. Jaguar's European sales plummeted 97.5% year-over-year in April 2025, with only 49 cars sold across the entire continent. The brand essentially killed off every model except the F-Pace, announced a controversial rebrand aimed at ultra-luxury electric vehicles, and left a gap of over a year where they have virtually nothing new to sell. Dealers are stuck with aging inventory from a brand that is actively walking away from its own customers. It is a disaster. Maserati might be in even worse shape. The Grecale luxury SUV has been sitting with over 300 days of inventory for months, and the desperation has reached absurd levels. In February 2026, Maserati started offering a discount of $85,000 on the Gran Turismo and Gran Cabrio Folgore electric models. That is not a typo. $85,000 off a single car. On the Grecale Folgore, they are offering $40,000 off. That is over 40% slashed from the original asking price. When you are offering the biggest dollar amount discount on any new car in recent memory, that tells you everything about where your brand stands. Maserati's depreciation is catastrophic. The Levante loses up to 72% of its value in just 3 years. The Grecale Folgore sheds over 62% in 3 years. IC Cars data shows 10-year depreciation on the Grecale hitting nearly 84%. And maintenance costs are brutal. One Maserati forum member documented the first oil change costing $3,000. Year 2 service, $5,000. That is before anything actually breaks. Now let us talk about electric luxury SUVs, because that is where the carnage gets even uglier. The Mercedes EQS SUV loses 61% of its value, falling from over $110,000 to around $60,000 in under 2 years. Owners are burning through tires every 15,000 to 20,000 miles because of the vehicle's 5,600-pound weight, costing $1,200 to $1,500 per set. The BMW iX can lose more than $51,000 in value over 5 years. Audi Q8 e-tron is expected to lose more than $50,000 in 5-year depreciation. These are catastrophic numbers for vehicles that were supposed to represent the future of luxury motoring. Here is what really killed the electric luxury SUV. The federal electric vehicle tax credit expired in September 2025. That $7,500 incentive was propping up demand. Without it, electric vehicle sales softened significantly. General Motors electric vehicle sales dropped noticeably in the fourth quarter of 2025. Automakers are now scrambling to compensate with aggressive lease deals and 0% financing, which only further destroys residual values. Nearly 400,000 additional off-lease vehicles are expected to flood the used market in 2026, and a meaningful chunk of those are electric vehicles coming off 2-year and 3-year leases. That the tidal wave of supply is going to crush prices even further. And do not think the Italian brands are surviving this either. The Alfa Romeo Stelvio has been lingering on lots for over 240 days. One 2024 Stelvio Veloce with just 274 miles on it sold at auction for $32,500, nearly 40% off its $53,000 manufacturer-suggested retail price. Brand new, basically never driven, and already worth 40% less. After 3 years, Stelvios retain only about 37 to 39% of their original value, making them one of the worst in the entire luxury SUV category. Alfa consistently ranks near the bottom in reliability surveys. The dealer network is tiny, and the buyer pool is even tinier. To compete, Stelvios have to be significantly cheaper than the BMW X3 or Audi Q5, and even then people walk away. And do not forget Volvo. The outgoing 2025 XC90 is being heavily discounted to make room for the next generation model. Dealers across the country have been offering $7,000 to $12,000 off the sticker price on remaining 2025 inventory. That is a luxury SUV that started around $60,000, now potentially available for under $50,000. When manufacturers are slashing 5 figures off a current year model, it tells you exactly how much trouble the luxury SUV segment is in. Even brands that are selling relatively well are feeling the pressure. BMW finished 2025 as the top luxury brand for the 7th straight year, but fourth quarter sales still slipped 3.4%. Audi deliveries fell 16% for the full year. These are not small dips. The entire luxury market is recalibrating because the fundamentals have shifted. Interest rates, insurance costs, tariffs, and oversupply are all squeezing margins from every direction. The Hyundai chief executive officer said 2026 is shaping up to be very challenging for the industry, calling affordability the key issue. Ford's chief executive officer warned the entire auto industry to be very careful about consumer demand. And the kicker, dealers cannot just sit on this inventory forever. Every day a vehicle sits on the lot costs money in financing, insurance, and opportunity cost. That is why we are seeing unprecedented incentives right now. Infiniti is offering $9,000 cash bonuses on the QX80. Lincoln is offering 0% financing on the Nautilus and Corsair. Volvo is running 0% interest on the EX90, which is practically unheard of for a luxury SUV near $80,000. Land Rover offered 1.9% rates on the Discovery over the holidays. These are not normal incentives, these are fire sale moves. The auto industry is sitting on a mountain of inventory it cannot move, and every month that passes, these vehicles are worth less and less. So what does this mean for you? If you've been eyeing a luxury SUV, 2026 is probably the best buyer's market in a decade. Negotiate at least 15 to 20% off the manufacturer's suggested retail price on leftover 2024 and 2025 models. There are still about 85,000 unsold 2024 models on dealer lots, with Maserati holding 1/3 of its inventory as leftover 2024 stock. The Land Rover Discovery has over 200 days supply, with more than 1,600 units gathering dust at dealerships. The Genesis GV60 had the highest share of leftover 2024 electric vehicle inventory at nearly 22%. Be flexible on color and trim and stack manufacturer incentives with dealer discounts. The leverage is entirely on the buyer's side right now. But if you already own a luxury SUV, especially an electric vehicle, the outlook is rough. Values are falling, and they are not coming back. The combination of oversupply, rising ownership costs, and tariff-driven price increases on new models is creating a perfect storm. New luxury SUVs are getting more expensive to buy, but less expensive to sell used. That gap is where your money disappears. The luxury SUV boom that defined the last decade is officially over. What we are witnessing in 2026 is the correction. Automakers overbuilt, overpriced, and overestimated what the market would absorb. Now they are paying for it, and so are the people who bought in at the top. That's a wrap. Which of these surprised you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you found this valuable, hit that like button. It genuinely helps the channel grow. Make sure you subscribe so you do not miss our next breakdown. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.